Have you ever felt like your gut just changed? That it stopped following the rules you've lived by for decades? Maybe it became more unpredictable. Maybe certain foods suddenly turned on you. Maybe you went to your doctor, told them what was happening, and they looked at you, smiled politely, and said, "Well, that's just part of getting older." But deep down, you knew that wasn't the whole story. Something had shifted, and no one was really listening. This video is for you. If you've ever walked out of a clinic feeling more confused than when you walked in, it's for you if you've been told the problem is just stress or that everything looks normal, even when your gut is anything but. Because the truth is, digestive problems after 50 are not just about what you eat. They're about what you've been through and about what your body has carried quietly for years. So before you start blaming yourself or eliminating one more food from your plate, take a moment, because there's more going on than anyone ever told you. And once you understand it, you can finally begin to take back control. I remember the first time I spotted a white hair on my head. We just arrived in Hawaii. The sun was coming in at just the right angle through the hotel bathroom window. And in the mirror, I saw it, this sharp, stubborn strand that hadn't been there before. It wasn't blonde, it wasn't gray, it was white. I pulled it out. But these days, I've got white hairs in my beard, on the sides of my head, and I don't pull them out anymore. Because that's aging, right? But here's the part no one talks about. Just like the cells in your hair follicles stop making pigment, the cells in your gut, your nerves, your muscle fibers, even your microbiome, age too. And unlike your hair, you don't see those changes in the mirror. You feel them, sometimes as sensitivity, sometimes as bloating, sometimes as constipation or pain that seems to have no cause. Your gut becomes less resilient. It recovers more slowly. It responds differently to stress, to hormones, even to sleep. It's not in your head. It's not just age the way people mean it. It's biology. But here's the good news. While you can't stop your hair from going gray, you can learn how to support an aging gut so it doesn't rule your life. And in the next part of this video, we'll explore why so many people over 50 are left in the dark when it comes to what's really going on. Because what's happening inside your gut deserves just as much attention as what's happening on your head. Imagine this. You walk into your doctor's office with months, maybe even years, of gut discomfort. Bloating, pain, irregularity, the kind that interrupts your life, keeps you up at night, makes you afraid to eat out, travel, or even plan a day. You sit down, you explain everything, and then in under 15 minutes they nod, write something down and say, "You probably have IBS." No tests, no deeper questions, no curiosity, just a label and a suggestion to try more fiber or maybe cut out dairy. You leave feeling a little brushed aside, a little unseen, but you tell yourself, well, I guess that's it, and you try to move on. Now, here's what most people don't realize. IBS isn't really a diagnosis. It's a diagnosis of exclusion. That means doctors only call it IBS after ruling out everything else. And in many cases, they stop before they've ruled out much at all. And when you're over 50, that dismissal gets even more common because the system doesn't always take older adults seriously when it comes to gut health. Instead, symptoms get chalked up to aging, anxiety, or diet. But here's the thing, your symptoms are real, and they deserve real answers. Too many people, especially women in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, are told it's all in their head or it's just how aging works. But research tells us otherwise. Studies show that as we age, nerve signals in the gut change. Muscle contractions slow down. The gut lining becomes more permeable, and the balance of bacteria in our microbiome shifts, sometimes dramatically. None of that is imaginary, and none of it is solved by being told to just relax or watch what you eat. Instead of being dismissed, you deserve to be understood. Instead of being told it's normal, you deserve to ask, why is it happening? And what can I do about it? Because the longer symptoms are ignored, the more likely they are to become part of your everyday life. But they don't have to be. In the next section, we'll talk about something that can quietly lock people into these symptoms for years. Something more powerful than a diagnosis. It's a mindset trap that many don't even realize they're caught in. Let me ask you something. When someone says, I have IBS, what do you picture? A person with symptoms or someone who is the condition? There's a subtle difference, but that difference can shape the rest of your life. This is what we call a medical hex. It's what happens when a medical label, meant to explain or guide treatment, becomes your identity. It starts small. You're told you have IBS, or you're just sensitive. And maybe at first, it's a relief. At least now you have a name for what's been happening. But over time, it becomes more than a description. It becomes a definition. You go from having symptoms to being the symptoms. You start avoiding things, not just foods, but experiences. You speak differently about yourself. You say, I can't do that. I have gut problems. You stop seeking new answers. You stop hoping for real change because the label told you this is who you are now. It's not your fault. The system encourages it, but it keeps people stuck, sometimes for decades, especially when you've been living with symptoms for so long that you can't even remember what normal felt like. When you've internalized the idea that this is just how it has to be. But here's the truth. IBS, SIBO, diverticulitis, they are real, complex conditions, but they are not your identity. And when we stop equating the diagnosis with the person, we open the door to healing. Because a label isn't a life sentence. It's just one possible explanation. And explanations can change, especially when we start asking better questions. Up next, we'll dig into what most doctors still overlook when treating gut issues in adults over 50. We're going beyond labels, into the hidden shifts happening inside your body that most people never hear about. Shifts that have everything to do with hormones, gut bacteria, and the timeline of your life. Here's something few people are ever told. Your gut doesn't just age slowly over time, it changes in phases. And some of those phases hit like a wave. Research out of Stanford recently showed that our bodies go through massive internal shifts around the ages of 44 and 60. Not gradual, not subtle, massive. Hormones shift, inflammatory markers rise, and perhaps most critically, your gut microbiome transforms. Let's start with hormones. As you move through your 40s and 50s, estrogen, progesterone, and even stress hormones like cortisol begin to fluctuate. For women, this often begins around menopause. For men, the changes are slower, but still significant. These hormones play a direct role in gut function. Estrogen, for example, helps maintain the thickness of your gut lining. It influences how quickly food moves through your system. It even affects how your gut responds to pain. So when those levels drop or spike, you feel it in your digestion, in your sensitivity, in your energy. Then there's your microbiome, the vast community of bacteria, fungi, and other organisms living inside your gut. As we age, we tend to lose microbial diversity. In one study published in Nature, researchers found that older adults have fewer of the good bacteria, like bifidobacteria, and more of the inflammatory types that can disrupt digestion. It's like going from a lush rainforest to a thinning, unbalanced ecosystem. And that imbalance, what scientists call dysbiosis, can lead to bloating, irregularity, immune issues, and yes, anxiety or brain fog. Why? Because your gut is deeply connected to your brain through the vagus nerve. What happens in one echoes in the other. This is why so many people say, I didn't change my diet, but suddenly my gut went haywire. It's not always the food. Sometimes it's the biology behind the food. Instead of asking, what did I eat? Start asking, what's shifting inside me right now? Because once you understand the inner rhythms of your body, your hormones, your microbiome, your nervous system, you stop feeling like a mystery to yourself, and you can finally start responding to your symptoms instead of fearing them. But hormones and microbes aren't the only drivers of gut disruption after 50. There's another quieter force, one that nearly every client we work with has experienced. And it's not in your blood work. It's called chronic stress. Let's explore what that really does to your gut in the next section. Let's be honest. You don't need a doctor to tell you that stress affects your body. You've felt it. The tight chest, the racing mind, the nights where sleep won't come, and the mornings where your stomach already feels off before you've even eaten. But here's what most people don't realize. Stress doesn't just influence digestion. It can shut it down. When you're under stress, especially chronic low-grade stress, your nervous system flips into a mode called fight or flight. It's ancient, it's automatic, and it's designed to protect you from danger. Your heart beats faster, your muscles tense up, and blood gets pulled away from your gut toward your limbs so you can run or fight. Now imagine being in that state not for a moment, but for years. What happens to your digestion when it's being starved of resources? When your gut lining can't repair? When your microbiome shifts in response to a threat it can't quite name? Studies have shown that chronic stress increases gut permeability, what some call leaky gut. It disrupts the motility of the digestive tract. It changes the types of bacteria that thrive inside you. And it changes your behavior too. When you're in survival mode, you crave comfort, often in the form of sugar, fat, caffeine. Not because you're weak, because your body is trying to self-soothe with the only tools it knows. It's no wonder so many people say, I know what to eat, I just don't do it. Of course you don't, because your body's running a different program. So the answer isn't more willpower, it's nervous system regulation. It's learning how to return to a state of rest, safety, and digestion. We work with clients every day who've lived for decades in a kind of quiet panic, always busy, always caring for others, never slowing down. And their gut isn't broken, it's just exhausted. If this sounds like you, know this. You're not stuck. Your body isn't betraying you. It's doing its best. With the signals it's getting, change the signals, and the gut can begin to recover. In the next section, we'll talk about one of the hardest truths we see in people over 60. Sometimes the stress isn't from food or work or even health. It's from the life you've built, one that no longer fits who you are. This part might feel a little uncomfortable, but it's also where the real change often begins. We've worked with clients in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, people who've been living with gut issues for decades. And time after time, we hear something like this. I don't think my symptoms are just about food. Or, I've done the diets, I've tried the supplements, but I still feel stuck. And when we gently ask about their life, their relationships, routines, stress, the answers start to emerge. One woman told us she hadn't felt safe in her own marriage for years. Another said she was still working a job at 67 that drained her daily. One man said his adult child lived with him and brought daily chaos to the home. And every time the gut was screaming, not because of gluten, not because of dairy, but because the environment wasn't safe. Here's a hard truth. Sometimes the biggest source of stress is the life we build around us. And the hardest part, it feels too late to change. You tell yourself, I've made it this far. I can't start over now. I'm too old to make a different choice. But those thoughts, they're the real trap. Because it's not about tearing everything down. It's about asking, where am I not being honest with myself? Maybe you're not fulfilled in your relationship. Maybe your daily schedule leaves no time for your own healing. Maybe you've been putting everyone else first, so long that you forgot how to even ask what you need. We're not saying quit your job or leave your marriage tomorrow. We're saying acknowledge what your body already knows, that something needs to shift. And often the moment you speak that truth, even quietly, is the moment your gut takes a breath too. Healing doesn't begin with food, it begins with honesty, with letting go of what no longer fits, and giving yourself permission to change, even now. Because the alternative is carrying a body that never gets to rest in a life that doesn't feel fully yours. Up next, let's talk about the one skill that makes all the difference in this next chapter of life. It's not strength, it's not perfection. It's something softer, but far more powerful. There's an old saying in Taoist philosophy, the willow bends in the storm and survives. It's not the stiff tree that lasts, it's the one that can bend. And when it comes to gut health after 60, especially if you've been dealing with symptoms for years, this may be the most important lesson of all. Flexibility, not in your muscles, but in your mindset. We're taught that aging means becoming more rigid, that once you hit a certain age, things are set. Your routine is set. Your relationships are set. Your body is set. But that rigidity, it's exactly what makes the gut suffer. Because your body is still changing. Your hormones shift. Your nervous system adapts. And your emotional world, it evolves too, whether you want it to or not. So if your life is locked in place and your body is trying to move, that tension creates symptoms. We've seen time and again, the people who heal, who truly shift their gut health later in life, aren't always the ones who eat the cleanest or take the best supplements. They're the ones who learn to loosen, to let go of old stories, to try something new, to ask, what if I don't have to live like this anymore? It doesn't mean becoming reckless. It means becoming responsive, responsive to your needs, to your emotions, to what your gut is telling you, not just about food, but about everything else. Because digestion isn't only about what's on your plate, it's about what you're holding on to and what you're willing, finally, to release. So as we close, we want to offer two paths forward. One is small, one is bold. Both are steps toward that flexibility, toward a life where your gut doesn't run the show. You do. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you, because this wasn't a quick fix video. It wasn't about a miracle food or the latest supplement trend. It was about the real, deeper reasons gut issues show up and stay with us, especially as we age. You've probably tried a lot already. You've cut foods, you've Googled symptoms, you've done your best, and maybe, like so many of our clients, you've started to wonder if this is just how things have to be. But it doesn't have to stay this way. When you start addressing the root causes, your stress patterns, your nervous system, your hormonal shifts, your mindset, your gut starts responding in ways food alone never could. That's what we do inside our Sure Pathway program. We work one-on-one with people over 50 who are tired of being dismissed, tired of chasing diets, and ready to finally get to the bottom of their symptoms. It's not magic, it's not overnight, but it is a system that works because it's built around you. If you're ready to take that next step, click the first link in the description or pinned comment to apply. Let's figure out together what's really going on. And if you're not quite ready for that, start with something small. Download our free FODMAP food list at the second link. It's helped thousands take their first step toward clarity. Most of all, know this: you're not broken, you're not too old, and you're not alone. Your gut can still change, your body can still heal, and your life, yes, even now, can still feel like yours again.